What if I told you that your biggest dreams are being stolen from you, one dopamine hit at a time? Let's face it, we live in a world of instant gratification. Fast food, instant messages, social media validation. We are literally scrolling through our life. It's been reported that the average human has an attention span now of 8.25 seconds. Do you know that a goldfish can pay attention for 9 seconds? I don't know about you, but that does not give me a sense of pride. And then, according to Harvard Business Review, instant gratification actually rewires the brain, making long-term goals feel less rewarding than those quick dopamine hits that we get from social media or online shopping. So we reach for our phone instead of sticking to our plans. What about you? Do you have anything that you absolutely love, but maybe it isn't quite going to your plan? I don't know. Maybe you're trying to learn the guitar and you can't quite get that G chord. Or you're going to school at night and graduation just seems farther and farther away. Maybe you're inspired to paint, but whenever you post your work online, it doesn't get those likes. You're not getting that high from being validated, so you quit, or you're thinking about quitting. I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse, but you are not alone. The dopamine loop keeps people hooked. Likes, notifications, and quick rewards make it harder for us to focus on deep, more meaningful work. It is a science that the tech giants have really refined, and now your attention is one of the greatest commodities on the planet, and they are selling it to the highest bidder. I don't know about you, but the thought of anything or anyone having that kind of control over me, it just pisses me off. So what's the option? What's on the other side of the coin? It's persistence, it's patience, and it's greater reward. Is it easy? No, it is not easy. Being persistent with something is challenging. When something doesn't have an immediate payoff, often what we do is we just throw our hands up and let it go. Now I ask you, what could happen if you dug a little bit deeper? If you tried a little harder? Like Walt Disney did. I don't know if you've ever heard the rumors about him being fired from a newspaper because his editor said that he didn't have any great ideas and he did not have an imagination. And then, even after that, his first animation company went bankrupt. But if you were to ask me, am I glad that Walt Disney had some persistence, that he really dug in and got things done? I would not want a world without Little Mermaid or Goofy or Disneyland. Now, my story is not nearly as significant as someone like J.K. Rowling, who it took her 5 years to write the very first Harry Potter book. And even after she finished the manuscript, the publication companies kept rejecting her. Finally, she had an agent, and after a year, he did find someone to publish it, and the very first book came out as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Did you read that one? Oh, you didn't? Well, you may have, because actually a year later it was republished and released in the United States under Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And that, as we know, is where the magic happened. But how many steps along the way, how many of those hiccups that she had? Because I didn't tell you that during her 5 years writing the book, her mother passed away. She got married, she had a baby, she got divorced, and she moved to another country. How many steps along the way could she have given up? Where were her dopamine hits? And I know right now you're probably saying, well, I'm no Walt Disney, I'm no J.K. Rowling. Well, you know what? I'm not either. And my story is nothing even remotely as close to theirs. Mine's about a stubborn old horse Because when I was a little girl, like many little girls, I was crazy about horses. And in my early 20s, I had the opportunity to buy a horse. And I say that in air quotes because I was working 3 jobs, but I did not have the $200 that this horse was priced at. So I worked it off. I went to work for this guy and I worked off the hours to pay for the $200 for this horse. Now trust me, when you think $200 for a horse, isn't that awfully cheap? Yes, it was, and there was a reason. Because while this was a very young horse, he was only a yearling. He had never even had a halter put on him. He was quite a handful at the very least, but I persisted. I worked with him day after day, studying these little booklets that a friend had gifted me, and it was all with the dream that someday I could ride this horse. And indeed I did. I was able to ride him through some of the most incredible countryside you could ever imagine. He was mean and he was ornery and nobody else really liked him. But honestly, he was the world to me. And to this day, when I am asked about my greatest accomplishments, Raider always makes the list. So my experience with a stubborn old horse does not make me Van Gogh, who, by the way, is rumored to only have sold 1 painting during his lifetime. And it doesn't make me Thomas Edison, who had to go over 3,000 iterations before he hit on what we now know as the incandescent light bulb. Chances are, your persistence won't lead to anything that alters the way the world works either. But it will alter the way you work, and the way you see yourself, and the way you interact with the world around you. As I said before, it is challenging. You are not going to get there overnight. And you sure aren't going to get there in that 8.4 seconds that you can focus. So what are you going to do? You are going to celebrate small wins. Your brain is craving progress, and you are going to give it progress. How are you going to do that? I like to work with micro goals. If you take a big goal, something that you're trying to achieve, and break it down into bite-sized pieces. I even use this, I think it's called a Pomodoro method, which is working 25 minutes of focused task at a time. And so if you can set your timer, and I use this old-fashioned kind, so I'm not tempted to get distracted on my phone. I use this little guy. Set it for 25 minutes, focus on one task, and call it a win. Yay, you did it. That's a great thing. Another thing that you can do is track your progress. My coach helped me make a quarterly sheet. It's a spreadsheet, and we take annual goals and reverse engineer them back into quarterly goals. And then within the quarter, of course, it's broken up into weeks, and then the weeks into days, and then the days into hours. And then I use my little Pomodoro timer during the day, and then I also have a list of 3 things that I want to get accomplished that feed into those bigger goals. And every day I have to tell myself, progress is progress. It doesn't matter how incremental it is. I mean, just think about shuffling, right? You can shuffle and get somewhere. It's incremental steps forward. You don't have to take big, giant steps to get somewhere. Just keep moving forward. Now this next thing, it may be a little bit more challenging for you, because what I'm gonna ask you to do is sit in silence. I know, that sounds terribly uncomfortable, but whenever you are waiting for something, so often we find ourselves at an appointment and we're waiting, or you're waiting for your coffee order, in line at the grocery store. Mine is when I'm in line for gas at Costco. I have that urge to reach for my phone. So try to resist that urge, because that's all you're looking for, right? Is just fill up that space. Sit with yourself. Sit with your own thoughts. Observe the world around you. Maybe acknowledge people, have a little interaction with people around you. I know it's uncomfortable, but uncomfortable equals growth, right? That's how we grow. That's how we get better. Sit with that discomfort instead of immediately reaching for your phone just to fill up the space. Now, don't misunderstand me. The goal is not to eliminate dopamine. We need dopamine. We thrive on dopamine. The goal is to control it, to make it work for you and not against you. Dopamine fixes should be coming from things like laughter, a great workout, learning a new task, and my personal favorite, dark chocolate. You should not rely on that faceless entity liking your post on what you had for breakfast yesterday morning. Do you see the value difference there? Focus on the process. Those moments when things feel just right. It's not always about the end result. The journey can be the greatest part of the process. If you give this a chance, I think that you will find that being persistent really will give you greater satisfaction, and it will resonate in a more significant way than just popping that buy now button. Embrace the journey, enjoy the process, and trust in the power of delayed gratification. I'm Resourceful Rainey. Here's to fresh starts and fearless moves. I'll see you next time.